Hi everyone, welcome to today's training video. This is going to be part 3 of pill training. Today I'll be talking about how to start generalizing the behavior of swallowing something without chewing to other food items other than whatever it is you started this training out with. So we'll be working from whatever was really easy for your dog to swallow without chewing toward a capsule or pill. Training your fearful dog to take pills. This is part 3. Who is this for? This is for you if you have trouble getting your dog to take pills. Your dog is a slow or suspicious eater, which means it may be hard to hide pills in food. And your dog doesn't quickly and consistently take treats from your hand, so some of the usual pill giving tricks don't work very well with your dog. A review from the last couple weeks, but why is this so hard to get some of our fearful dogs to take pills easily? Dogs who are anxious are often less enthusiastic about eating, so they eat more slowly and chew more, and that means they're more likely to bite into a pill, which makes them even more suspicious of treats in the future. And many strategies that work well for getting dogs to take pills rely on fast eating from your hand and not much chewing, so they don't bite into a pill. And a lot of times that's pretty tough to get with a fearful dog who will not eat treats from your hand. So I've been experimenting with this 2 things in a row game. The goal is to teach your fearful dog to swallow a pill without chewing. In step 1, I showed you how to get the behavior of swallowing something, some treat, quickly without chewing. And then last time we talked about how can you reinforce eating something that is less tasty than whatever you started this game with without reaching toward your dog, since many of your dogs are sensitive to hands coming toward them. And that's where I introduced a second treat delivery station to your training, and I'll show you more of that in the video. And today is step 3, generalize that swallowing behavior without chewing the food to lower value food items. So what food to try other than whatever you started out with? You want to preserve that behavior of swallowing the treat without chewing it. So make sure to make changes in really small increments from whatever you started with. And if there are particular treats you find seem to encourage your dog to chew, do not use those in this training. What should you vary when you're looking at what treats to include in the training? You can look at how tasty or valuable the food is, how big is the piece of treat you're using. You may also need to vary shape and texture to get you closer to your dog taking a capsule or pill. My goal here is to get Pancake to take a size 0 capsule, so that is the size and shape I'm aiming toward. Now, we're already using a novel treat delivery location. I'm using cutting boards in this training for Pancake as a context cue to do this swallowing of the food behavior without chewing it. It might also be helpful to use another generalization aid, so something that you carry over between training steps that is the same. I wanted something anyway to coat the gelatin capsules I'm working with for Pancake to make them easier to swallow and to make them less likely to stick on Pancake's lips, which seemed to be happening more often than I would have liked. A very thin coating of something a little bit greasy can make swallowing a pill easier, may make it more palatable, and can help you with generalization. Since you're carrying this coating on whatever item it is you're using in the training step, it'll carry over across steps. I tried several things, including butter, margarine, olive oil, easy cheese, and most of those Pancake liked just fine, although he would not touch the olive oil. But margarine at room temperature, really it's one of those butter blends with canola oil, was the best consistency for what I needed. Here's how I varied food value and size as I worked with Pancake through these steps. Again, my goal is a capsule that is size 0 with medication inside of it and a thin coating of margarine on the outside. That's what I want him to just swallow without chewing. But I started this game with string cheese, with small pieces of string cheese, because I found that he was pretty likely to just swallow those without chewing. So that's how I got that behavior to start. You can see on the left some of the different treat types and sizes I used at this stage in training. Again, I started with cheese, a small piece of cheese. I then planned to use a small piece of a semi-moist dog treat, and then was going to increase size, but use cheese again, then increase size of semi-moist treat, then try kibble, which I couldn't break very easily, so I didn't have a small kibble option. I just had this medium-sized kibble. And then I was going to move to a piece of cheese that was about the same size as the capsule I wanted to use. And then next time I will talk about moving to those gelatin capsules. So how did this training go? Again, when we started with cheese, it was fine. Small pieces of cheese, pancakes swallowed, no problem, without chewing. But as soon as I went to the semi-moist dog treat, even the very small size, he chewed it every single time. So that was a little discouraging. But I moved on to the next step just to see if I could get him to swallow cheese that was a piece of cheese that was a little bit bigger, and he would swallow that no problem and didn't chew it. I did some experimentation with the semi-moist dog treats to see if really tiny pieces he would swallow. And it seemed that this treat really, for some reason, encouraged him to chew. No matter how small of a piece I gave him, he always chewed it. So I just took this treat out of the lineup for this training. Instead, I moved on to the kibble and found that he would swallow that without chewing as well. And eventually, when I made it to this big piece of cheese, he did actually chew this the first time I gave it to him. So I backed off to small or medium pieces of cheese and worked my way back up. And then we were able to successfully get swallowing without chewing with the large cheese piece. So just to show you what this looked like, this was a little tiny piece of the semi-moist treat with a piece of cheese, and see, he chewed it even though it was quite small, and he wouldn't chew cheese of the same size. And here's the kibble and the little cheese chaser, although I think he eats it first here. There, he didn't chew it at all. And then I followed up with his reinforcer cheese on the other cutting board. So here again is kibble and cheese, and I'm still doing that 2 things in a row, 2 things on the cutting board, since the second treat I think acts as a prompt for him to eat the first thing quickly. And here's the big pieces of cheese when we eventually got him to swallow those without chewing. Some lessons learned that may be helpful to you. Some foods, as I mentioned, seem to encourage chewing even when I gave only very small pieces of them, including that semi-moist treat. So I just didn't use that in training going forward. Something I really liked about using kibble is that if he chewed it, I could really hear it. It's hard and it makes a pretty loud sound if he bites into it, which is not the case with cheese. So I appreciated that I had that sign. Sometimes Pancake does do some extra movements with his mouth that I think involve him sort of manipulating the item in his mouth so he can swallow it. But with cheese, if he's chewing it, I couldn't hear it. So with the kibble, that was helpful. And I often would warm up in a session with a few reps using the really small pieces of cheese that we started with. And that seemed to make the whole session go more smoothly. So now what? Next time I will show you how we worked with capsules and worked our way up to swallowing a pill. Summary for this part 3 of the pill training. The goal at this stage is to get your dog swallowing lower value items that are more similar in size and shape to the pills that you eventually want them to swallow. I recommend very gradually introducing lower value foods and very slowly increasing item size. I probably did this a little too quickly, which is why I had a couple hiccups in the training. Skip foods that you think are more likely to be chewed. In our case, that was a semi-moist treat that was chewy. And using a thin, greasy coating of something on all of the items in your training might work as a generalization aid to help your dog generalize the swallowing without chewing behavior across items. All right, I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to get your free PDF on caring for your fearful dog at the link below, dogkindtraining.com/care, and I'll see you next week.